In this short demonstration, we're going to show the FAST system. This is a framework for automated service trading built by the ICSOC group at the University of Sevilla, Spain. This demonstration will be done with the NetBeans environment. The scenario is composed of different elements. However, it is important to highlight that the only operational module is a FAST service engine. This is a service engine that is a JBI compliant component that can be installed in any enterprise service bus that has the JBI architecture. In order to interact with the FAST service engine, we have two different web services. The first one is a normal operational web service that is used to create service level agreements. The other one is the web service used to manage the service engine. In order to interact with the service engine, we have a client console that uses the management web service to send commands and receive messages from it. We can run the console client, and so we can first connect with the command to the service engine, and now we can start sending commands. Once we are connected, we can load the domain with the command domain, and in this case we're going to load the Platina domain. We can see all the components of the domain, and also we can see the vocabulary with the show vocabulary command. We can see different types of properties. For example, we have properties such as reliability or availability that are related with quality of service concepts, and others such as consumer organization or provider organization that are more organizational in terms of the domain. With the domain loaded, we can set up the preferences of the different parties with the command reset preferences. This command will load all the preferences for the parties. Now that we have loaded the preferences, we can start the trading process for the different parties. In a simple scenario, the first trading process will be the one of the provider. For example, in this case, we are starting the provider P1, and with this command we have the provider up and running, waiting for a consumer. In a given moment, a consumer arrives and the trading process for it can be started. For example, we can start the consumer A1C1, and so we can see here the two processes interacting. Here we can see the offer interchange. In this case, the provider P1 is sending this offer to the consumer, and since there is only one provider, the result is this service level agreement. In this service level agreement, we can see all the terms such as availability or the performance that this provider will provide to the consumer. We can now try a much more complex scenario with several providers. In doing so, we should start the appropriate processes, like for example the trading process for provider P2 and the provider P3. Now we have three different providers up and running, waiting for a consumer. So we can again start the same consumer, the consumer AZ1, and we see now a much more complex interaction. We can see, for example, the provider P2 doesn't have any offer for this particular consumer because of the availability, and the P2 and P3 providers has two different offers, so the consumer selects the best service level agreement, that is in particular the provider P3 in this case. It is important to highlight that this is not the normal operational environment. Normally, these trading processes of consumers will be started via an external message to the operational web service of the service engine. Also, we can see that most of the configuration is set by different files in the system. In particular, we can modify and extend to different domains by simply creating the appropriate files. For example, here in the Platina domain, we have these files to configure it. We can see the vocabulary of the domain here in the vocabulary.xml, where we can see all the properties of this domain. So we can add a new property by simply editing this file. Also, in the preferences directory, we can see all the preferences files for each party. We can see, for example, provider P1 that has all these preferences. In particular, for example, performance is a conditional property that, depending on the consumer application, has either value low or medium if the consumer application is A1 or A2. Finally, the SLA XML has all the service level agreement registered in the system that we can use to monitorize or detect violations. We have seen some of the possibilities of the FAST framework. In order to download the system or get more information, please go to the ISA website, www.isa.us.es. Thank you for your attention.